You're going to open us?
Oh, did he tell us?
Okay, let's call the Tuesday, October 8th, Andover City Council meeting to order. We'll start off with a roll call to my left.
Caroline Hale, council member.
Troy Tabor, council member.
Ben Lawrence, Mayor.
Clark C.R. Nelson, council member.
Greg Schneider, council member.
Mike Warrington, council member.
Mike Keller, police chief.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Chad Russell, fire chief.
Andrew Kovaring for JT Klaus, city attorney.
Les Mangus, Director, Public Works.
Susan Renner, City Clerk.
Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator.
All right, we'll move on to item 3, which is the invocation. Pastor James Gillespie, I do not see him. Okay. Troy, would you be so kind
Sure.
as to lead the invocation this evening?
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Dear God, thank you for allowing us to get together tonight again to talk about our city, the goings-ons, and different things that need to be worked on tonight. I pray that you're in our hearts and minds as we make decisions for this city and make sure that it's the best for everyone involved. For those who are less fortunate, I'm always pray to help them to find food, shelter, and love tonight. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Will you stand with us for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 5 this evening is the public forum. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the council? Seeing none, I'll move on to item number 6, which is the acceptance of the agenda. Anything to add or pull this evening?
Nothing from this afternoon. We did add the bid tabulations for item 11. And we did at that time also remove an item on 13.2. That was just an error to even put that on at this point in time. We'll come back and do that later when they're closer to closing on that property. But that's it.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by CR, second by Mike to accept the agenda as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to item number 7.
Tonight before you have a couple city employees. Daniel Shapaw was the leader on the city organizational values project, and he brought some of his subcommittee tonight, and they're going to present to you.
Good evening. Julie Spires is here in the audience as well. She was part of the committee I'm here representing. I'd like to thank everybody that participated on that committee, which was myself and Julie, Stephen Cullinane, firefighter, Stan Gibson from Street Department, Donnell Hadley from the police. We all met several times this summer to come up with the results to present to the city employees. So this evening we're going to officially formally introduce those to you. After a vote from all city employees, we've come to 4 city organizational values we'd like to officially adopt. These are teamwork, integrity, customer service excellence, and dedication. And Chastity Page is also here. She's produced some of the print materials, our value cards that you'll have at your stations up there. Those will be distributed during the campaign. Our awareness campaign will begin next week. We're going to provide departmental trainings and activities on each of these 4 values, one for each of the following quarters. Teamwork is going to be the focus for this final quarter of 2019 at the Columbus Day event on October 14th. We're going to include several low ropes course elements facilitated by Butler County Community College to help develop and foster teamwork among staff. There'll be similar activities and trainings for the remaining 3 values throughout as we progress. City administration is also going to formally recognize employees who exemplify these values during the execution of their duties during the campaign as well. And that's all I had to update you on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 8, which is a proclamation by myself to proclaim October 6th through 12th, 2019 as Fire Prevention Week. A lot of you know we do this every year, and we're committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting Andover. Chief Roosevelt, do you have anything you might like to add this evening?
Well, absolutely, sir, I do. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak a little bit about Fire Prevention Week and the things that we have going on in our nation and here in our community. In 2017, over 1.3 million residential fires occurred nationally, resulting in over $23 billion worth of damages to private property, and over 3,500 lives were lost. That was 2017 alone. In the last 10 years, national data indicates that 45% of all in-home fires are cooking related in some way, shape, or form, whether that's a kitchen stove or an outdoor barbecue, and whether it's inattentive or accidental or some sort of failure of the device. It all relates to that cooking activity. And we all know that we, especially here in America, love to cook our food and eat it. So that's why 45% of all these in-home fires occur in that manner. Not far behind that is smoking fires or related with smoking materials at about 20%, and then various equipment failures in the 15 percentile range. As Andover citizens, we all have great opportunities with your fire department to interact with us from a safety opportunity and such, outside of just calling 911 for the emergency after it happens. We have wildland urban interface presentations that are currently ongoing with our various homeowners associations around town, and wildland urban interface site assessments on a voluntary basis on private or commercial properties to help understand what the threat possibly could be in the event of a wildland urban interface fire that we saw nationally in November of last year in Paradise, California specifically, a community not really all that different than our own. We also have opportunities for voluntary in-home fire safety and general safety assessments, and those can be just, in our aging community sometimes that segment of it, slips, trips, and falls are a number one point of injury for our persons in our community. And we have an opportunity, by invitation of course and voluntary, to step into these residences, home or businesses and such, beyond our normal commercial business inspection process to help individuals identify things that could become hazardous to them or their guests in their home, and identify mechanisms to help make their areas and homes safer and just have a much better quality of life here in our great city of Andover. These things and many others can be coordinated by contacting us at our station, 911 North Andover Road. What a convenient set of numbers for us. Or giving us a call at the station, 733-1863. And lastly, just to remind everyone that our public partnership with our public safety messages continues to ongo, and various businesses around town have helped with that, and the Police and Fire Foundation has helped with that as well. And I don't have a slide of the example of the signage, but if Chief would hold up our example of the signage right back there, it matches the national trend, the national message of not all heroes wear capes, plan and practice your escape. And we want to encourage everyone in your home to practice your own home fire safety drill, just like our children have done for years and years and years in the school environment. The best way to be safe is to know when to get out and then exercise that opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right. We will move on to item number 9, which is the consent agenda, 9.1 through 9.5. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Troy and a second by Caroline to approve the consent agenda as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, we have a zoning case, Z 2019-07, to change the zoning district classification from residential to the MF1 single-family and two-family residential district, generally located at the southeast corner of South Archer Drive and East Concord Road in Andover. Let's see. Before we proceed with this hearing, I'll ask any of the council members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they have a bias or conflict of interest. Negative. Has the city clerk received any protest petitions?
No, we have not.
All right. I would ask the council members if they've all received their planning commission meeting minutes of September 17th, which summarizes a hearing on the case.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I will call on our zoning administrator to give us a brief background report and recommendation of the planning commission.
If you'll recall, this subject property was part of the annexation of the Bicentennial neighborhood, generally east of Yorktown Road and between Highway 54 and Douglas Avenue. This subject property has been vacant for some time. It's the former site of a mobile home park that was demolished. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on it at their September meeting and would recommend unanimously that the change from the Butler County Residential District to the MF1 Single Family and Two Family Residential District be approved.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Troy.
a motion that we adopt the Planning Commission's findings of fact and recommendation for approval of zoning case Z 2019-07 and approving an ordinance changing the zoning district classification from the existing residential district, Butler County, to the MF1 single-family and two-family residential district, conditioned upon satisfactory plating, including the extension of public water, paved streets, and storm sewers.
Second?
All right, we have a motion by Troy and a second by CR to approve zoning case 2019-07 as presented. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 10.2, we have another zoning case. This is Z 2019-08. Before we proceed with this hearing, I'll ask if any of the council members intend to disqualify themselves for discussing this issue or voting on this issue because they have a bias or conflict of interest.
No.
Has the city clerk received any protest petitions?
No, sir, we have not.
All right, I'll ask the council members if they've received their planning commission meeting minutes of September 17, 2019. I expect
Yes.
you all to say yes, because you said yes last time. I would ask our zoning administrator again to give us a background report on this case and recommendation of the planning commission.
This subject property is a part of a existing plat, the Valsong edition that was brought into the city some years ago, zoned agriculture. It was a three-lot plat that the owner has decided he'd like to break up into smaller single-family residential lots. This, what you see before you tonight, is a part of a larger plan that would include the majority of the 80 acres that the applicant owns. Planning Commission held their public hearing in September and recommend the approval of the change.
I have a question. There is sufficient utilities available to that site?
Yes, water and sewer are available adjacent to the site, and the road system would extend off of the existing Harry Street, and with future phases extend throughout the 80 acres and connect into existing subdivisions to the north.
Difficult if you're limiting access to Harry to provide access in and around. Is it just going to be a loop? Have you seen any preliminary? I know this has
Yes.
nothing to do with zoning, but
Yes, the Planning Commission looked at a preliminary plat of the entire 80 acres, and the street would essentially loop back to Harry Street, although it also extends to the north to connect into the Mecca Acres subdivision streets and extend a collector street up towards the extension of Onewood Street.
So we'll have some interconnectivity.
Yes, it would be interconnected to the grid system we have in place and in plans.
Fair enough. Council, what's your pleasure?
I have a question before we go on.
We'll go for a question. Yeah.
The red area that's in the large rectangle box is the 80 acres that we are talking about, correct? That's just a portion, okay. Well, I guess what's kind of confusing me is that the yellow talks about being city limits, so we aren't talking about that portion outside. I'm confused here, I guess. It doesn't seem like that's within the city limits from what we're talking about.
What is west of, to the left side of that yellow line is in the city. To the right is not in the city. There is about... It's reverse.
Okay, it's reverse for us, but okay.
About 80 acres there, I think it is, that is not in the city, adjacent to this track.
So what we are talking about is the area that would be,
Red rectangle.
okay.
If you look at this, that's Andover, that is not.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is I see, okay.
Yellow line here, everything east and north of this line is not in the city. Everything west and south is in the city. I have a lake addition here.
If you scroll down one slide on your PDF, it'll actually show it better if you can. Okay, maybe 2 slides.
Okay, that,
There you go. Doesn't that show more?
A little bit. What's in the color shade here are the areas that are in the city. And the aerial photo in color is in the county.
okay. So I guess what threw me off is if you follow the bottom horizontal, the yellow, it looks like that's saying
Yes.
that's the city, but it's the opposite.
It's actually, the property adjacent to the east is actually now an island within the city, surrounded on all 4 sides.
Okay.
How big is that? 80 as well?
I think it's 80 acres.
Fun.
Yeah. That'll be a sore subject one of these days.
Mostly agricultural land in one ownership.
There appears to be a segment in the southeast corner that says 712 on it. Can't probably read it up there. That seems to be a small portion of that big rectangle.
There are, I believe there are 4 parcels adjacent to Harry Street, but the furthest east wraps around behind the other 3 to contain the majority of that 80 acres. It may even be 160 acres. I'd have to look at the whole aerial photo.
Thank you.
Large enough that it couldn't be annexed without the consent of the commissioners.
Yeah.
Craig, you were saying?
Yes. Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the Planning Commission's findings of fact and recommendation for approval for zoning case Z-2019-08 and improve an ordinance changing the zoning district classification from the existing A-1 agricultural transition district to the SF-2 single family / medium density district.
Second?
Motion by Greg, second by CR to approve zoning case 2019-08 as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11. We have a street bid award for Prairie Creek Addition. Evening, Rick.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. As you'll recall, last council meeting, you guys authorized the going out for bids for Prairie Creek 4th, 5th, and 13th Street extension to serve Prairie Creek addition. Those bids were opened yesterday at 2 p.m. The low bid was below the engineer's estimate. However, one part of Part 3, which is the 13th Street segment, was exceeded the petition limits. The developer has, and the contractor, low bid contractor, APAC, has agreed to allow the developer to buy down that portion. So basically what they're doing is they're paying the contractor directly the $10,000, and I forget the exact number, $92.45 that was over the petition limits, so they can get the project going. And so that'll be outside of any kind of assessments or anything like that. And they want to get the project going as fast as they can, instead of doing like we have had to do recently and go through and redo the petitions and so forth. They wanted to do it this way this time. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer them.
Mr. Mayor, I would move to accept the low bid from APAC Kansas Inc. of Wichita for street improvements to serve Prairie Creek Addition 4th Phase, 5th Phase, and 13th Street North in an amount not to exceed $769,749.80, and authorize the mayor to sign such contract.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by CR and a second by Greg. My only question is, since the engineer's estimate didn't quite cover, the bids came in higher than the engineer's estimate, right?
One part, the total engineer's estimate, the project was under the total project was under the engineer's estimate.
Have we eaten up the contingency portion?
We have eaten the contingency and the crawl up to the 10% crawl.
So, if we approve this and there happens to be a change order, what then?
If the change order is on the 13th part of the project and would be a part of that assessment district, we would have to go find the money somewhere else, either go back to the developer or renegotiate something somehow to find that money. That we'd have to cross that
We
bridge
just
if
don't
that
want to
happened.
have to unwind all of these petitions, which it sounds like we might have to, and secure another letter. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, you've identified the issue. So if there were a change order that caused the amounts to go up even higher, either the developer would have to cover it in the same manner they have here, or we'd have to go through and get amended petitions and amend the advisability resolution and work ordinance, as we've done many times. They just have to decide how to handle it if and when that occurs.
But in this instance, to hasten it, to speed things along, the developers agreed to just pay the difference out of his pocket, knowing there's zero contingency now.
Correct. Well aware of that.
Okay.
In this particular case, the developer is in somewhat of a hurry because winter is coming. They want to get building on this project.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I just don't want there to be a problem, which there is potential for it, as long as everybody knows that.
We have the contingency in the other two parts of this bid, the parts on 4th and 5th additions, but not on 13.
Well, but are the benefit districts different?
Yes, they are. So we wouldn't be able to move things between projects.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we have a motion by CR and a second by Greg to award the street bid contract with APAC Construction for $769,749.80 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm going to step down on item 12.
Item 12, Teradyne 3rd, 12.1, Golf Course Restoration Contract, Sechrest LLC. Les, maybe you can explain what in the world this is all about.
You remember a few weeks ago, we bid the sanitary sewer extension for the Teradyne 3rd subdivision, and the bids exceeded the petition, so the council authorized us to amend the plans and negotiate the work. one of the items of negotiation was the restoration of the golf course. It was a pretty pricey item on the contractor's bid because there were a lot of uncertainties about working on a golf course. It's been negotiated with the owner of the golf course to do all of that restoration. That's the contract before you here tonight for $30,000.
Okay, so if we pass it, we're hopefully saving some money, or the owner's going to save a little bit of money, and we're going to be looking to the owner of the golf course for the restoration of the golf course.
Yes.
Okay? Any other questions? Motions?
Mr. President, I make motion to accept the proposal from Sechrest LLC for $30,000 for the restoration of the Teradyne Golf Course and private property following the construction of the Teradyne Estates Third Subdivision Sanitary Sewer Extension Project.
We have a second?
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Greg and a second by Troy to accept the proposal from Sechrest LLC for $30,000 for the restoration of the golf course as presented. Any further questions?
I do have a question, just to
Yes.
clarify for myself. So the action is to accept the proposal of $30,000 for the restoration. Does that money come, where's that money come from? Or is it just a, hey, we're going to do this and it's worth $30,000?
It comes from the owner.
Comes from
The-
whoever's buying the property?
Right.
The,
Okay.
the owner of the course put this proposal together, and the proceeds to pay for this contract would come from the petitioned amount for the project. They were just broken out into a restoration contract and a construction contract.
What was the original amount for the restoration project? Not that it matters at all for this. I'm
Oh,
just curious.
gosh, it was, I
40
think when you put,
42,000?
I think it was around 47,000 just for the golf course restoration.
Wow.
I have a question too. I'm trying to understand what part of the golf course was affected by this. It didn't, the property was being sold to somebody, these sewer lines go in and tear up golf course property somewhere?
Yes, it does. As a matter of fact, the project starts in Councilmember Nelson's backyard and runs about 100 yards across the golf course before it touches the third subdivision in a easement that was granted by the golf course.
Oh, okay, so there's whatever sewer lines it had to hook up to were down there to the north of the whole
To the north,
situation?
yes.
Oh, okay, because I'm like, really, I think you couldn't really see any of that was going on, or at least I never noticed it. And
I bet you can see it
You
now.
can see it
Yeah,
today.
oh, yeah, I can- yeah, but I mean, I never really noticed. So curious about that. So this is, but again, the question is, wouldn't this decision be by the buyer as opposed to us deciding how much the buyer has to spend? That's kind of confusing.
This was negotiated between the buyer and the golf course
Right, but why does the city have to approve it?
because it's a part of the petition
Okay,
to
because it has to do with
install
the
the
sewer.
sewer project.
Okay. But, so those two parties already agree on
Yes.
this price? Okay.
Yes.
Clark, could you make sure you got the little handle that you can turn off the sewer if you need?
It's too late. By the way, both of those questions are very good. It is confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 12.2, sanitary sewer extension proposal. What do we have there, Mr.
This-
Mangus?
This is the proposal from the contractor who was the only bidder several weeks ago, where he has separated off all of those restoration costs, and now this is just the hard sewer construction project and rough grading with the restoration left up to the golf course.
All right, questions?
I make a motion, though, to accept the Mies Construction, Inc. proposal for $38,730 for the Terradine Estate Third Subdivision Sanitary Sewer Extension Project.
Second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Troy and a second by Greg to approve the Meese construction proposal for $38,730. Further questions?
No question.
Yes.
For less. The $38,730 for a sewer line to go into a home, is that common cost for, I'm in Crescent Lakes, for example, is that like a common cost for what I guess my specials would be? I'm just asking.
The costs here are high because there is, like I said, there's about 100 yards that is across the golf course where no one would take service.
Okay.
And the fact that they're working within an existing golf course with utilities and crossing of tee boxes and restricted access. The unit costs were high, but we anticipated that.
I would say to try to answer your question, yours would be way less than half what this cost would be.
This is also 400 feet worth,
Yeah.
and yours would be like 30 feet.
Further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're on our way.
All right, move on to item number 13, which is, we'll start with 13.1, the real estate purchase agreement with leased properties for road right-of-way.
Mayor and council, before you tonight's an agreement to purchase the road right-of-way for Founders Parkway as well as Homestead Drive. There are several contingencies required to be met before this agreement would be closed upon, which would include removal of any tenants or buildings on said land, and so that the closing of this will not happen for, I was advised tonight by the developer, probably at least 2 months, but we would like to go ahead and get the agreement signed so that we can move forward with that process. And this will be the backage roads for the Yorktown and US 54 development that's going on currently. Any questions about this item?
Mr. Mayor, I would move to approve the agreement between Lease Properties LLC and the City of Andover, Kansas relating to the purchase of road right-of-way.
Second?
All right, we have a motion by CR and a second by Caroline to approve the real estate purchase agreement as presented. Further discussion?
I have a comment.
Go on.
Apparently doing that with everything tonight. I had asked earlier about how many acres, additional acres of parkland that the Heritage Edition is going to bring to the city of Andover. And I noticed that it talks about Heritage Park and Heritage Square and the linear park. And the number I got was 8.3 additional acres of parkland, which is huge. It's a huge amount of parkland that is being brought in by this new subdivision that is all connected through the road that everybody loves in the park and eventually makes it all the way through to all these parks. I just wanted to put that out there. We really do thank the developers a lot for adding parkland to the city of Andover. They certainly didn't have to do that. So it's wonderful that they've done that. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, we have a motion by CR and a second by Caroline to approve. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13.2, we have some right-of-way dedications.
No, isn't that what we dropped?
You did drop that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, move on to item 14, which is the USD 385 Metal Arc Addition Water Project.
A few weeks ago, we bid and you approved a contract with McCullough Excavation to install the water line for the Metal Arc addition to McCullough Construction. That project was for a water line on 159th Street. It was a separate petition. The petition before you tonight and plans are for what we call Water Project B, which ties on to Water Project A and runs through the site on the Metal Arc and the CAPS building site to provide fire service and potable water service within the tract, but it's yet a public water line. Because there are so many contractors working on that site, the coordination of trying to work water, sewer, streets, and building improvements, we're recommending to you that you accept a negotiated price by means of a change order on the existing McCullough contract. We have good unit prices, and the coordination has a lot of value to it.
Mr. Mayor? I move to accept the plans for USD 385 Meadowlark Edition Water Project B and accept a negotiated price with McCullough Excavation as a change order to Water Project A.
Second?
Motion by Caroline, second by CR to accept the plans and authorize negotiation with McCullough Excavating for Project B. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 115, 159th Street projects. Am I dreaming?
With all of the federal aid projects where we utilize funds through WAMPO and KDOT, KDOT is the administrator of the project. KDOT has bid and awarded a project to Pearson Construction to do the 159th Street Bridge and our street improvements. This contract is with KDOT to provide engineering services through a consultant to oversee that work. It's a typical contract format. We see it with every one of our federal aid projects where the three parties, the city, the state, and the consultant have an agreement for construction engineering.
I have a question, Les. Who is the consultant?
This consultant is Trans Systems.
Very good. They've always done, the City of Andover, a wonderful job.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the Kansas Department of Transportation agreement for federal aid construction engineering inspection services by consultant, cost plus net fee, CE agreement, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Second?
Motion by Greg and a second by CR to approve the construction engineering agreement as presented. Further discussion?
Question?
Hold on.
The split amount, what is it? Is it 80/20? Is that right?
Troy, this project is very convoluted in that it has city at large funds for the roadway portion of the project from the bridge down to Central. It has a congressional earmark for some of the bridge construction, and we have a share with the Kansas Turnpike Authority for the bridge improvements. So it's not a very simple 80/20.
So on the specific engineering cost of $425,000, we don't know what our part is?
In general, 20%.
Okay.
But of that 20%, but
Well, we're
of that
approving it, you would
20%,
know the exact
about half is to the Kansas Turnpike.
So half of the 425 the Kansas Turnpike is paying for, which leaves
Yes.
us to, I don't know, 10, 12, 5 or whatever. And so,
About $100,000.
yeah. Split 80/20 on the 100,000? No, that's what ours is, about 100,000.
Our share.
Okay,
So overall, it's about 25%.
yeah,
Actually,
Yes.
a little less, yeah.
That's still a bang of a good deal.
Yes, it is.
Totally. I just thought if we were going to approve the money, we should know how much the money is. Just saying.
Okay, so we had a motion by Greg and a second by CR. Did we even vote on that? I don't think so.
We did not.
All right, further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, council, I'd like your permission to appoint Council President Nelson and myself to serve on an interview committee for the soon-to-be filled Assistant City Administrator position. You've already posted this, right?
Yes, sir. Last I saw, we had 18 applications, and we still have another week to go, so.
Excellent. We have your permission to do so.
You have my I make a motion to give you permission? Okay.
Sure,
Yeah.
go ahead.
We're not making a motion to post the position. We're
No,
making it.
no.
Approve the mayoral appointment of Council President Clark
There you
Nelson
go.
to serve on an interview committee, as well as the mayor, for the Assistant City Administrator position.
You got it.
Along with city staff.
You got it.
Second.
All right, motion by Troy, second by Caroline to approve the appointment of Council President Clark Nelson to serve on an interview committee as presented. Further discussion? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Down to actually a couple executive sessions here. First one will be concerning land acquisition. You think 15 minutes will cover all of it?
Yes.
Okay. If somebody be so inclined to make, here, I tell you what.
This is two different ones, though, correct?
Right, we need to do them separately.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we recess into executive session for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property per KSA 75-4319B6 session to include governing body, city administrator, community development director, and city attorney, and resume open session in, did you say 10 minutes, or you wanted to go with a 15? 15 minutes.
No, no. That's longer than 15 minutes.
Start counting until the door shuts.
7:57.
So how much time do you want?
That's 15 minutes.
15
Just
minutes.
15
Okay.
minutes.
Was there a second to that?
Second.
Motion by Caroline, second by Troy to go into executive session for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property per KSA 75-4319B6. Session include the governing body, city administrator, community development director, and city attorney, and resume an open session at 7:57. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You better run.
Have you ever known us to come right out when you knocked?
Was it weird?
All right, what's this motion for?
Make a motion to return from executive session?
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to return from executive session.
Second.
Motion by Troy, second by Caroline to go out of, come out of executive session. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Will there be any motion forthcoming?
Yes, I would like to ask our attorney what the proper words for this is.
I believe the recommended motion would be to authorize offers to purchase easements from, you want the names? Orrin M. and Ruby L. Baker Revocable Trust, J. Larry Fugate Revocable Trust, Fred W. Deppner III, Andover States MHP LLC, and Grizzly Hanchett LLC, and Lane B. McKibben.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mike and a second. Second by Troy to authorize staff to authorize the purchase, the solicitation of
Offer, if I misspoke,
Okay.
offer.
All right. To make offers for land acquisition along Andover Road, and this is to facilitate the bike path, right? Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17.2. We need another brief executive session
Mr.
for
Mayor,
attorney-client privilege. Go
Mr.
ahead,
Mayor,
Ray.
I make a motion to recess into an executive session for consultation with the city attorney, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship per KSA 75-4319B2 to include the governing body, city administrator, public works director, and the city attorney. And open meeting will resume in 15 minutes.
Second.
I believe we were not going to have the Public Works Director come into this executive session. It does say
I am
that.
going to recommend that the Public Works Director be included.
Okay,
It was included in the original motion, so
right.
if you
Oh,
want to exclude them, we're going to have to. Okay, the motion was made by Greg, seconded by
I think it was me.
Caroline. Go into executive session for consultation with the city attorney, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship for KSA 75-4013. I do that every time. 4319B2 to include the governing body, city administrator, public works director, and the city attorney for 15 minutes. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, council, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Motion by Greg, second by CR to come out of executive session. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I believe we're down to member items. Caroline, would you like to start us off?
Just another big thank you to staff that all worked on Greater Andover Days. I think the weather kind of gave us a little bit of hardship this year around, but it was still great, all the activities, and just appreciate all the work that goes into it.
Troy.
Quick question for Les or whomever. Do we have a new or an estimate of when the road through the park will be completed?
June of 2020.
June of 2020. Okay.
June and prior to school starting next year.
Correct.
Is their stadium going to be
Yes.
open in the fall then?
Operational in
Supposed
fall
to.
of 2020.
So
Supposed to be done by May, June of next summer.
So the timing's really good.
Is the tennis court going in first?
It's being built now.
Yeah, and it'll be done in about 2 months or something?
Mhm.
Can't remember what they said. Okay, I want to thank everyone that came out to Greater Andover Days and voted the People's Choice at the tailgate for our tacos again this year. Fourth year in a row, we got a pretty cool award for that. That's all.
CR.
No items.
I wanted to thank the chamber again for having the candidate forum on Saturday. Thanks.
Mike?
I have a couple things. The Applebee's grass is horrible. I mean, I know they just cut it, but they just cut 3 feet of grass and it's just laying on top, which is going to just kill the rest of the grass. And is there anything we can do to tell them they need to maintain that while they are trying to do whatever to that property?
I did call the agent who's representing the property and asked them actually in advance of Greater Andover Days to mow it. And
And they
obviously
didn't
that
do it.
happened this week, so that was after the fact. We did send code enforcement out to measure, and I do not know the outcome of that. I know he went out that same day. But as far as leaving the clippings and things like that, I don't believe there's anything in ordinance that would
It's just an eyesore.
prohibit
I mean,
that.
From a well-operated, maintained, and one of the pieces that you saw when you come into our city, and now it's just not being maintained at all. So it's kind of, it doesn't look good.
The owner doesn't care. He doesn't like Andover. He thinks our taxes are too high.
No, he needs to sell his property.
He's trying.
Yeah. Second thing is, Troy and I went to the Kansas Economic Outlook Conference this week. I sent out the PDFs to everybody. You can see what the outlook for the next year or the past year has been, and I'm not sure if y'all have had time to look at that, but there's a lot of grass in there. But for the most part, it's actually looking good. Everything's on the up. If you look at that, and the yield curve, they actually show on some of these charts when some of the recessions have been, 8, 10, 12 years long in between areas. And we're past that. I mean, we're probably in year 14, so we're past what the normal recession has been projected every 8 to 12 years. And all the indications are showing everything is up. So I think that's good. So that's good, for our city, for our businesses, and just the outlook. So if you get a chance, look at those charts. They're quite telling.
Kansas great, right?
Yeah.
Do you recall the numbers on like the price points of homes and what the inventory? I believe it was like between $150,000 and $450,000 homes. There's only a 2-month inventory total.
You're right.
For people purchasing.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything over $450,000, there's like an 11-month wait, or there's 11 months worth of inventory. So that's just saying that that price point between 150 and 450s, there's not enough homes
right.
being built
Yep.
to manage the amount of need.
Yeah, and that was for Kansas, and then we looked at the average and the, and we're doing very well for the state and in the Wichita metro area as well. So all indications means it's up. So that's good.
Staff have anything?
I'll just remind you at the last meeting, we did approve to close city offices on Columbus Day morning, which is Monday. It kind of snuck up on me. So they will be, all the employees except for public safety, although they will be there if they're not on a call or needed elsewhere, will be participating in wellness activities. Some of them will be golfing in teams at the municipal golf course. Some will be exercising at the YMCA. They'll have the ropes course that Daniel mentioned earlier, hosted by Butler Community College out here on
Did you
site.
say a half a day?
Half a day.
So I got a Twitter feed I thought I read said you closed all day.
Okay, I'll check the Twitter feed. That is incorrect, so we'll correct that if that went out all day.
Maybe I misread it, but I'm
Okay,
pretty
we'll
sure
check
it's
that.
closed all
It's
day,
just
and I'm
the
thinking,
morning.
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
but-
just the morning, and then we will have lunch from 11:30 to 1. One of our local caterers in town, Silver Spoons, they're new, and they offer healthy food, and I'd invite any of you to attend at the lodge from 11:30 to 1 if you'd like to take part in that.
If there's an extra spot on the golf course, I would happily join.
You'd like to golf? Sure.
There won't be?
You won't be here.
Oh, I'll be out of town.
You'll be doing the league.
Mike and you and myself are going to the League of Kansas.
Recently notified that we've received yet another federal grant, AFG grant, Assistance Firefighters Grant, 15,000 and change. Our match is $717.
For what?
That's not the only grant. I was also recently notified that Kansas Forestry, for the last 2 years, we had about a $15,000 grant from the Fire Marshal's office last year, another $2,500 from Forestry this year, and we have another card on those programs.
He's secured a lot of funding over the years.
Yeah.
He's really good at those.
Or the new
He's more
off-road
individual.
truck.
Did this one. Another app is a regional grant that we worked on with our neighbors, and about $400,000 total, not our portion, but total for.
Okay. I think we are adjourned.